Hi, all. My title was very complicated, but I want to start with a simple question. If I were to ask you which one of these two pictures, the top of the bottom, you would relate to the idea of justice, and you just pop up an answer.
The bored guy on the left.
Probably. So this is what I would answer to. But what I would like to demonstrate in this presentation is that different people in different cultures can have very different answers to what justice is to them. So in my paper, which was part of my final thesis, I was looking at conceptions of justice in post-conflict processes, transitional justice processes, and I was looking specifically at the case of Uganda and at the Acholi region, which is in the north end of the country. Uganda has been undergoing, since the 1990s until 2005, more or less, a very difficult civil war opposing the government and rebel forces, which involved the abduction of 30,000 child soldiers. And the situation was referred to the International Criminal Court, which Patricia O'Brien talked about yesterday, in 2003. And the interesting thing about Uganda is that there was a lot of local advocacy at the local level by cultural and religious leaders for using local justice mechanisms instead of global international justice. So in my paper, I wanted to examine this proposal of using local justice through a child rights approach. And I decided to look at child rights approach at children, because children were indeed one of the main victims groups in the conflict. And I looked at 5 key rights contained in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And what I really wanted to do was understanding how people on the ground kind of understood these conceptions of rights. So I used Skype interviews. I tried to connect with people there, with NGO workers who worked with child soldiers, to try and understand what justice and right and these particular rights meant to them. And what came out, which was kind of interesting, is that the weird picture I showed you at the beginning, this ritual, Nyono, also called stepping on the egg, this foot is actually stepping on an egg, was a really interesting ritual of local justice, which people used to reintegrate child soldiers into the community. So when children would come back home, they would, in front of the community, step on an egg, which symbolizes innocence, and they would be reintegrated and freed from their whole guilt. So I guess in conclusion, without going into too much of the details of the ritual, what I wanted to show is that different people might have very different ideas of what justice means. And I would just like to conclude with the words of some of my interviewees that told me, if you try someone at the ICC, does that really mean justice? I mean, does it bring back those years that the kid has lost? Does it repair the damage that was done to his brain, to his heart, etc., etc.? And another description of one child who came back home and told the ritual signifies that you are welcome back home. So we embrace you in the family, feel free. We are now cleansed of everything that happened to you. Thank you.